welcome back, Dumpster Goblins, one and all.
Hey, everybody who's watching.
Yeah.
Hey.
Everybody, if they're watching. What's that? You heard, Dumpster Goblins? Is that another voice?
That can't be.
Mm-hmm. It's impossible. But here on Another Loafer podcast, we like to get the most high-profile guests.
Oh man, so high profile.
So we have here, you probably know him from his Twitch streams, Rapshazzle at twitch.tv.
Yep.
In that order.
Oh man, that low key plug right there.
Yep.
Yeah, see,
very low key.
We got to treat our guests. But this is our friend Chris, as you might have heard mentioned on the podcast before. Chris, if you want to introduce yourself to the people, tell them, who are you?
I am Chris.
You all right?
Okay, all right.
Well,
Good stuff. So how's everybody been doing this week?
Not bad.
I've been just working on stuff. Nothing crazy.
That's good. That's good. I have been watching a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff that I watched.
Yeah, I got one that I can talk about. I just started it 5 minutes before this podcast.
Oh, excellent. So you've seen the whole thing then?
The whole first episode, which was weird.
Baby.
And then, Chris, what have you been watching or playing? Too much of anything? You're the guest.
I finally got around to watching all of ReZero.
Oh, you watched the whole thing now?
Yeah, I finished all of it. So.
Ooh, let's talk about it.
I was a really big fan of it. At first the main character kind of isn't the most likable character.
The mighty, powerful Subaru.
It doesn't. He kind of sucks, doesn't he?
I hated him.
He really sucks.
I hated him for most of the like 2/3 of the series. I thought he was a terrible character. I was just really upset with him.
Mm-hmm. But he kind of has his big redemption.
Yes, he
towards
does.
the end. So, and the supporting cast was all really good.
Yeah.
I think everybody talks about Rem, is the main draw to the show for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the best girl to ever best girl.
The bestiest girl.
I was a really big fan actually of how deadly the world was.
Yeah.
There are a lot of times where he's not thrown into another world and it's it's just another world. He's literally like a mouse essentially in a world filled with cats, and any wrong move can just kill him. And there's a lot of super duper crazy powerful stuff out there that when towards the end of the show when he's fighting against the witches cult, and one of the times that he goes back to the mansion, and he's carrying Rem there, and you just see
yep, I know what you're talking about.
The spirit Puck he just explodes out of the top of the mansion, and Subaru just dies.
Yeah, it literally he just freezes and dies.
He just freezes and his head falls off. The whole credits for that part was just him, his frozen dead body just lifeless there with snow slowly piled up on it. I was like, wow, that was I thought it was a really well done way.
Yeah, that was I think that was my second favorite episode. I think my favorite was when it was just Rem and Subaru talking on a roof for the whole episode.
Yeah, where he was coming to terms with how powerless he really was.
Yeah, and that was great. That was really, really good. I think that whole mini arc, or those 3 episodes were probably the best in the whole series, at least to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but after I watched it, I started reading the translations of the light novels, and I don't want to spoil very much, but I actually really like yet hate what happens afterwards.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of puts a damp on everything. So in the anime, the ending is really happy, right? And they all live happily ever after, essentially. But in the light novels, actually, what happens is that. Because he decides to go and save Amelia, actually when he parts with Rem, she actually gets attacked by some of the other Sins.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, don't tell me this. Oh no.
Yeah, she has her name and her memories stolen. So basically what happens is that she basically gets put into a coma and nobody else can remember her. Her existence is basically erased from history, and that's actually why, if you recall, she's not in
the last episode at all.
Yeah, well, also if you recall in the anime, there was that issue that Subaru had when he sent the letter to Amelia, and it was a blank letter, right? And they never explained that in the anime. But actually, what happened was that Rem was the one who wrote that letter. But after they parted, her existence was essentially erased, and so with that, the writing on the letter was erased because she no longer existed to the world. So that's actually why that happened.
Well, that's messed up.
Oh dang! Yeah,
I mean, I did say this was suffering the anime. It's about right.
Yeah,
but it's not like all dark because she's not dead. Yeah. She's just in a coma. And,
just mostly dead.
Yeah, she's just mostly dead, and obviously nobody remembers her for the most part. Like Subaru remembers her for inexplicable reasons because whatever. But I actually like how that they kind of did that because it showed that even with like his perfect scenario, like as doing the best that he could, he still wasn't able to like have a perfect happy ending. I
also I like the fact that the anime kind of frames it as a happy. I'm assuming I assume that they're gonna do a season 2. It'd be nice if like it was undercut at the beginning of season 2. They just completely undercut everything that happened. Yeah. Because like they frame it as like, oh hey, season 2 ended, everyone's super happy, it's super great.
And then it's like, oh, actually, no. That was
nothing's happy. Everything sucks.
Yeah,
but it was
pretty, actually suffering.
It's pretty intense though because when he goes back, like after he saves Amelia, and he goes back and he finds out that Rem was attacked, and then that everyone lost their memories of her and stuff. He immediately actually kills himself, like no hesitation. He immediately kills himself.
Oh damn.
To try and go back and rescue her, but then he finds out that his save point of his power has like changed.
Was after the whale, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was actually after everything. So like he had no choice to like be able to save her. But then he also, realized even if he could save her, he'd have to pick either her or Amelia. Mm-hmm. And he decides like even if he could pick, he would still pick Amelia because if he didn't, then the Rem that believed in him, the him that she believed in, he would be dead because he didn't save Amelia like he was going to.
Right.
So, yeah. I thought it was a well done way to kind of continue off from that point because I was like really curious as how they continue on from that point.
Right.
But I thought they did a good job of continuing it. So I'm really looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, that sounds like. I'm excited for season 2 too. Because especially, I think I stopped ReZero like 3 different times just because I hated Subaru so much. So I was like, get like 3 episodes and just stop for like 2 weeks and start again. And then I got to the good part and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I like this.
Yeah, I'm glad that I kind of waited to watch it all and just watch it all at once because it would have been really frustrating having to like wait. To like wait for his kind of character redemption arc and like having to wait like literal like a month or so for him to go through all those episodes and become a character that you could actually like, because I would have been really frustrated like having to wait like 4 weeks.
Yeah, I didn't have to. I did the same thing you did. It was already over when I started watching. Well, and I finished it. I watched like the first 3 episodes when they first came out, and that's it.
Yeah, no, that's kind of how I watch most of my shows. I'm a binger. I think it's a lot better. Especially, I think Erased is the first one that comes to mind. If I would have had to wait week from week to watch the next episode of Erased, I think I would have gone crazy.
Mm-hmm. I haven't watched Erased yet, but I've heard everyone talk about it and stuff.
It's good.
It's on my
new live action one.
I just remembered I haven't finished Erased.
You never finished Erased?
No, I didn't. I got caught up with it, and I forgot I didn't finish it because I just kind of forgot about it at all. So yeah, I'll have to put that back on my list. So.
Well.
Yeah, I know. I'm a terrible person. Give me.
It's all right. Now you can watch Netflix's live action adaptation.
There you go. You can experience the version that you were meant to experience.
Of course.
Yeah. The real version. This is the version that the creator wanted you to see.
This is what his original vision.
Just like the live version of Death Note.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh my God.
Which one? The Netflix version?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the best version.
The best version. The one you literally walked out of.
He literally could not.
You couldn't finish.
Yeah, he didn't walk out. He just sat there on Reddit afterwards.
It was so bad.
It was so bad.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That was not a good.
No, I mean I was entertained. It was to me because I like bad things, but there was that Ferris wheel scene was legendary. That thing was amazing.
Or when he first meets Ryuk and just starts
screaming like a child. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh boy, are there some things to hate about that show.
Yeah, Light Turner, my boy. My sweet darling child, Light Turner.
Related to Timmy Turner?
Yeah, Timmy Turner.
Probably.
Timmy gets fairly
Same high school.
Timmy in his later years, the Fairy Godparents.
They abandoned him, so the Death God just shows up.
That's his new Fairy Godparent, obviously.
I'm pretty sure somebody made a video that's the Fairly Odd Parents opening, but they made it for Death Note.
Really?
I'll have to find it. I'll find it after this, and I'll show you guys.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but steering back into things that I guess we were watching, we can kind of talk. So, what's the transported to another world genre called?
Isekai.
Yeah, Isekai. So I've been watching an Isekai show. I think, Chris, you read this one, but Overlord 2 is happening.
Oh, baby. I love me some Overlord.
Yeah, it's so good. I don't know why I like the first season as much as I did. I think the opening theme song really sold me.
Oh yeah, I love the songs for Overlord. I've actually been listening to the band that did their ending for the season 1. They actually did the ending for the Overlord movie as well.
Oh, there's an Overlord movie?
Yes, I haven't seen it. But,
I didn't know
there is an Overlord movie.
We might have to watch that.
Yeah, no, I'm totally in.
Cause I haven't. I haven't seen it either. I watched the first season, but I haven't seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the second season's pretty good. They're doing the it's right now. It's in the Lizard Man War arc. So I really like the Lizard Man hero character guy, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched the newest episode, but I think it's the one where he's about to fight Bug General.
Yeah,
Man,
the bug commander guy.
Yeah, Icy Bug.
I don't want to say too much because like that is the ending of the Overlord anime was like volume 3 or something like that, 3 or 4, and then the whole bug arc is 1 volume after that. So without saying too much, like after the bugs they move on to focus more on like the human kingdoms again. No, there's one more arc that before that, before they move back onto focusing on the human kingdoms again. And that, when they start focusing on the human kingdoms again, that's where it really, Overlord, in my opinion, really starts to get like super good.
Yeah.
And Ainz is super ridiculously OP.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think that's what makes that show so well is they're not like, oh, he's a struggling hero. It's like, nah, he knows what he is.
Yeah. He's a really powerful Overlord.
Yeah. He's also doesn't just like the most milk toast. I don't know. Most of the isekai, it's always like some milk toast dude with black hair who gets sucked into this world, and he's just super OP and doesn't even like talk about it. It's like it seems like that's like all of them. Except I mean, there's a few exceptions, obviously, but
there's another new one that came out this season that feels kinda Overlordish. I don't remember the name of it. But basically, it's a game designer who gets sucked into his own.
I heard about that.
Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody.
Yeah. Have you watched any?
I actually read all of the light novels. That one. That one is like the most lighthearted thing in like the history of everything. Like there's like a lot of different like isekais where the main character is OP and stuff. But I think that one definitely takes the cake for how ridiculously OP the main character is.
Well, isn't it just like he knows the bugs in his own system and he just uses exploits the whole time?
So what happens? Like the very basic premise is that he's making this. He's like working as a game designer, and as part of the game design, like the publishers said that they thought the game was too hard. So they asked him to add in this function for it where you could like there's like 3 times you could summon meteors to like kill all the enemies and like basically have like a free win. So he adds this feature in, and like it takes him like all night to do it. And so he like passes out at his desk, and when he wakes up he's in this other world. And that function is still in the game for him essentially. And so when he's first attacked, because he's brought into this wasteland, he uses that meteor power, and he like annihilates basically all of the dragons in this area, because this area is like a dragon wasteland. And he gets like an insane amount of like levels and experience from it, so he gets to be super duper crazy OP from that, because he's like super over level, and it's one of those isekais where everyone has like stats and levels and all that stuff.
Right, and that they don't ever talk about it. It's like, oh, everyone has levels, but
yeah, and it's just part of that world. So he literally starts off from the very, 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 very beginning as like a god level like being, and so it's basically him just going around having like an enjoyable life in this world, and happening to solve like these world crises, like
That I mean,
just because like he's there, so he just solves it. Because
yeah,
you know,
it
why
doesn't
not?
sound like my particular cup of tea, but also I have a little bit of isekai fatigue right now, so it's
Understandable. It's
that's
one
fair.
of those. It's one of those ones where it's like it's enjoyable as long as you're not looking for something super serious or like something that's gonna make you like impact you in some way emotionally, because it's really lighthearted.
Yeah, because like that's what would get me, like, because like ReZero, like that's an isekai that has a very different twist on like that whole genre.
Mhm.
So like that was enjoyable to watch, but like something where like in a fantasy world with my smartphone, that's not a big enough twist for me. That's just like,
Dude, he's
Yeah.
got a smartphone.
he's
though.
got a smartphone though. The game has changed.
Yeah, no, that's that. I mean, that's guy. I think the only isekai I really like were like Overlord. I love that show, and then Konosuba, if that one technically counts.
It does
I
count.
mean, Konosuba is basically a parody of it.
It basically
so-
Yeah.
parodies that.
And
But
it's so good.
The other thing is Overlord. It barely even counts as an isekai as well, because like you could have had the Overlord be just this thing where the guy wakes up as an Overlord and he has no memories, and it could play out almost exactly the same.
Because don't most of
Yeah.
the game mechanics just stop? I can't. It's been a while.
Yeah, I
since
mean
watched
they
one,
basically don't mean
Yeah,
anything
he's just
anymore.
super OP because he has all
He's
this
just
stuff.
super OP because he's got all this like super
He's
crazy
got all the-
gear and stuff.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah.
like these holy weapons and all that. But you could
Yeah,
fit
the
that
world
into like a
items.
standard fantasy setting.
Yeah, I think that the isekai
so
portion
like-
of it just kind of gives you a little more grounding for his character. That's about it.
Yeah,
But I guess the interesting thing about that is that, speaking of his character, is that he basically kind of loses his original character
Mhm.
as he becomes like this overlord, and like
Yeah.
he loses like the ability to like, he doesn't care about killing humans, even though his original personality would have been disgusted by it and stuff like that. Like he doesn't care about any of that stuff. And he becomes an overlord in like the very sense of, when you think of like an evil overlord that has no regard for the value of human life, like he becomes kind of that. And it's not like a gradual change. He just kind of is.
Mhm.
yeah. No, I know there was like parts in it too where he's just like, oh well, I guess I don't sleep anymore.
Mhm.
Just kind of stuff. Like he loses his humanity as it goes on, and it's not like super. At least in the anime, they don't make it like super about that kind of aspect.
Yeah,
which
it's
could be a
not
full
like that.
psychological.
It's not like that in the light novels either. Like
Mhm.
he just does, and he's like, oh, I guess I'm not a human anymore. I guess I'm a skeleton man. With
Yeah.
no
I actually am
emotions.
Skelly Man.
And he doesn't
And
like
that-
struggle
he just
with
kind
that so
of no, he
much.
doesn't struggle at all with it. He just kind of is like,
Nope.
okay, I guess that's how things are now.
Yeah, it's not like Tokyo Ghoul where like that's a huge
Mhm.
part is the struggle of becoming something else.
Yeah. Overlord is very much not about this character's struggles to like emotionally. It's not about that at all. So
Yeah, it's more like, hey, we made a OP character. Let's see how the world gets affected.
yeah, hey, want to see this super OP skeletal lichman take over the world? Here you go.
Here's
This is
your
how
show.
it happened. But he does it in a way that's not like, that doesn't like completely turn you off. Like he's not excessively cruel to like,
Yeah, he's
just
not-
to be cruel for cruel's sake or anything like that.
Yeah, he's not like cartoon villain evil.
Hmm.
He just, well, I mean, he is a cartoon villain,
Yeah.
but and he is pretty evil. But he's not like megalomaniac.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He pretty much just only cares about the people who serve him, and like literally everyone else he will exploit for whatever, to whatever ends, like whether it's keeping them alive or if they serve him better dead, then he'll kill them, and that's the end of it. But he only really cares about like the NPC characters that are like his last connections to his guild.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's one show I've been watching. I can touch real quick, and then Trey will get to you. But the other show I started watching this like today, like 5 minutes before this podcast, Pop Team Epic.
Oh yeah, I need to watch that. I was gonna pop that on at some point.
It's I don't know how to feel.
It's
so weird.
I've seen clips of it. It looks, oh boy.
Yeah, I think that show's just a shit post or a meme. Or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, I've heard it called the final form of anime before, and I'm hoping that's true.
I don't think that's true. Neo Yokio already exists.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, so this is like the second final form of anime. It's like the twin boss of Neo Yokio.
Truly, the epitome of all.
Yeah, the epitome of trash. It's Pop Team Epic, Eromanga Sensei, and Neo Yokio. By their powers combined.
It's a Hydra.
Yeah, you cut one head off and another... I should have another anime for this terrible example, but I don't.
Well, just wait for season 2, and then you'll have another one.
There we go.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's like really weird too, because the first thing the show does is it starts off like the opening. It's like for an idol show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the opening theme song, at least in the first episode, was like the full on like Love Live stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, they have like, oh, look at me. I'm going to go hang out with this girl, and we're about to have a summer of adventure because my parents are leaving. And then they do the whole idol song, and then the character just pops up. Like the little ginger gremlin from Pop Team Epic is just like, nope. But maybe as my descent into madness continues, I'll talk more on that.
Oh no! I'll watch alongside you.
It sounds almost like this wasn't made by Trigger, was it?
No,
it sounds like one of those troll anime that Trigger would do.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, except for like the quality of it. Isn't just like terrible from what I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah, the show looks good, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like the characters are a very basic style, but the show, like the animation's clear, it's clean. But boy.
Yeah, oh boy. For next time, I'm definitely, you and me got to touch base on this one, because I think we got to talk about this one.
Yeah, come down the rabbit hole with me.
Yeah.
But anyway, Trey, what have you been watching?
Yeah, okay, well, speaking of Trigger, actually, that's a really good segue, thank you. The Darling and the Franxx, have either of you guys...
I was actually planning on watching that tonight, so...
Oh, cool, okay. So, I watched the first 4 episodes of that. I got through those pretty quick. It's not a hard watch. Like it was pretty easy to go from episode to episode, and it definitely looks good for a Trigger anime, which I don't think says much. I mean, I didn't see Little Witch Academia, which I heard was pretty...
Little Witch looks clean. I was gonna say, speaking of Trigger, I've been starting Little Witch.
Yeah,
I'm about 2 episodes in.
Darling and the Franxx looks pretty good. It definitely doesn't have like the inconsistency of like say Kill la Kill, which that one was like...
That's good.
Half the time it looked fantastic, and the other half of the time it looked like a Flash animation, which is like...
Yeah.
I think that was one of the biggest like disappointments in Kill la Kill, was like how poorly animated some of the parts were, and like you could really tell where they had to like cut on their animations.
Yeah, exactly. Which is because it could look fantastic sometimes, and then it just looks like the worst thing ever. Like it's just that really held it back. This one doesn't have that so far. This one I think it's got a lot of people working on it, from what I hear. Like it's got a lot of big names attached to it. And I definitely think they got a lot of people from the old Gainax to come on, because like if you just watch, the setup for this is very Evangelion. Like not quite, it's a little more bombastic than Evangelion, and a little more kind of like, it's a little differentish, because like the giant robots aren't like freaky angel things. They're like they're all anime girl looking robots, which is interesting. But but the setup is like, the setup is very much like, these monsters are attacking, people live in cities, we need teenagers to go fight them, sort of thing.
Okay.
And the twist of it is like the mechs are kind of piloted by like Pacific Rim style, where you need 2 people to pilot it.
Oh, yeah.
But you need to... It's like it has to be a guy and a girl, and they have to be in sync, which means like, and their sync numbers can go up or down. I don't know if you remember that Gygax, Dan, that Gygax video with the thought control. That was from this. That was from this. That clip was from this.
I saw that.
Yeah, so like they have to be kind of like, it's almost like they have to be kind of aroused with each other, which is kind of weird, but it makes sense. Like I think that it's gonna be a plot point later on. Like, because like these government peoples are basically this organization is basically trying to pair these kids up and like get them together just to get their fighting efficiency up, which is an interesting and weird thing. Like it's weird, but
but probably will end up kind of turning on them or something.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm really hoping they dive head first into that one and don't just like turn it into like a weird like sex, like a weird like, I don't know, make it like sexy sort of thing. I hope they like dive, because like these are like high school age kids, and they're like, they've never been, they don't even know what
kind of emotions and stuff.
Yeah, they don't even know what relationships are at all. Like they don't even know the concept of any of it. So like it's kind of, I'm hoping that they dive like straight into like what exactly is happening, and like it starts tearing them apart, like the fact that these people are basically manipulating them to make them fight better.
Yeah, it kind of sounds. You didn't watch Kisnaver at all, did you?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I think that was a Trigger. I think Trigger made that one too, and it was like last year or 2 years ago.
I remember hearing about it.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing where they force like an empathy system on these basically high schoolers again. But they force them so like anytime one of them feels pain, all of them feel the same pain. And they were all strangers, I think, before. Some of them might have been friends, but it sounds kind of like Trigger's playing with that idea a lot.
And I'm hoping it like turns into like, because like I think it has the potential to be the story stuff has the potential to be really, really good and interesting. I'm hoping that they don't just like turn it into a like super bombastic fight scene time anime. I'm hoping that they kind of turn it and make it a little deeper than that. If it isn't and the fights are cool, I guess I'll be okay with that. But
yeah, hoping for less kill, more. Again, Kisnaver, this sounds a lot similar to it, and I really did like Kisnaver.
Yeah, so. And like it's definitely interesting. Like I think it's worth watching. The first 4 episodes are kind of slow because the main character doesn't get to do a whole lot, which is unfortunate. Like you just keep wanting you want them to do something with him, but they don't. They just kind of refuse to let him do anything. But and like the supporting cast is really interesting. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for this anime. Trigger, please do it right. I swear to God, Trigger, if you're out of money, like the episode before this finishes, I'll be upset.
They're so all over the place, so it's like maybe it could be really good, but like
there's
also potential for it to like fall flat, you know?
Yeah, like this could just be a complete trash mess. Like this could like that's what's really irking me is like it's interesting enough to keep me going, but this could just turn into like a complete dumpster fire later on, and I'd be really upset about it.
Apparently the other studio working on it is A1 Pictures.
Yeah, it's A1 Pictures.
Yeah, A1. Oh, no shit. And they usually do fine.
Yeah, so I'm hoping they will be like, I'm hoping when Trigger's like, okay, we need to spend all our money on this one kick. This kick is going to be beautiful, and A1's going to step in and be like, nah, please.
No,
please
they'll just have A1, they'll make A1 burn through all their leftover Sword Art Online money.
Yeah. And but besides that, I have watched one other show, like to completion. I watched the entire thing, and I think I told you guys about it. It was Land of the Lustrous.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, which is from last year. It was originally on the Amazon Animation subscription, but they got rid of that, so now you can just watch. If you have Amazon Prime, you can just watch these anime.
I'd heard about that.
Yeah. It was. I think it's for the best. If we can, sorry, I'll steal the thunder. We can talk that. And I'm kind of glad that It was Anime Strike, I think it was called.
Yeah, Anime
really
Strike.
Glad it died.
Yeah, I'm so happy that's gone. It was bullcrap. It was not great.
It's kind of annoying that like they section off that one subsection where you had to have. You had to have Prime too, right?
Yeah, you had to have Prime, and you had to have Anime Strike to watch the anime.
It's like none of the other stuff required a separate subscription alongside of it, so it's kind of annoying.
And it was really frustrating too because it's not like Amazon made these anime; they were just licensing them.
Yeah, it's the same thing Netflix kind of did back when they were holdouts on their Netflix original series,
right?
But there's even Netflix is simulcasting a show this season.
Yeah, it's what's that one with the war one? Shoot, I forgot what it's called.
I don't know it, but I know that they're simulcasting that, but they're making us continue to wait for
Violet Evergarden.
Yeah,
that's it.
I've heard really good things about.
Me too. I really want to watch that one.
So
yeah, I know it looks pretty, but
yeah. But segue, looking pretty. Speaking of that, Land of the Lustrous.
Back to Land of the Lustrous.
Oh my goodness, it is okay. So it is complete. It was almost completely 3D. Like it's a 3D anime, which I know a lot of people would be like, "Oh no, here we go on that one." But oh my goodness, it is. Like I had to eye bleach myself on that one and watch something terrible looking afterward because man, it like just ruins it. It's so good looking.
Yeah.
It is.
No, I mean if you wanted to cleanse yourself, do the Giguk method. I can attest to it too. Just watch Berserk 2017.
Yeah,
watch the last half of Berserk 2017.
Crappy 3D anime. There you go.
Yeah. I'll just watch that and be like, okay, there we go. I'm equalized because man,
there's no faith in 3D anime.
Yeah, because like man, if you just watch the first episode and you're just like, oh my goodness, how do they even do this? Because like it combines 2D and 3D a little bit, so it's like sometimes the eyes and stuff will be 2D, but like watching it, you definitely see like they couldn't have made this in 2D. It wouldn't have been like fiscally possible to do it because because like the basic premise, like really really basic stuff, is like they're the girls in this are gemstones, like they're they're actually made of the gemstone that their names are. So like Phosphorite is Phos is the main character, and so like their hairs are made out of those gemstones, and like the light refracts off of them all the time and stuff, and it's like, yeah, they couldn't have done that. That wouldn't have even been a thing.
Yeah, I mean, just hand drawing something like that would be very very time consuming.
Yeah, and in 3D you just make the model, and it really looks good. Like, it's fantastic looking, and actually, like, because like the first 4 episodes are like you get through those and you're like, that you don't like Phos too much. But after that, like, the story's actually not bad. It's actually pretty good. I don't think it's the best story I've seen in the whole season, like the whole last season, but it definitely was very serviceable. Like, it was very good. It was good enough to like really bring the whole animation up too. Yeah, and the main character has like the sort of Subaru thing where like after a certain big event happens, like she turns into the best character in the series, like in the whole show. Like, especially considering that she starts off really annoying.
So it's like kind of one of those stories of growth.
Yeah, it's very much growth, especially considering the main characters are like immortal, so like they don't really grow.
Yeah,
they're immortal in the sense that they don't age because they're rocks. So like they don't really grow in that sense, but the main character does, and that kind of really sets her apart.
Okay.
Yeah, Trey, you watch Steven Universe, right?
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, it's basically the anime. It's not
okay.
It's not the anime version of Steven Universe in the sense that the stories are similar, but it is kind of like, it's very. I don't know if there was some inspiration on either way there, but it's very much like, oh, these are the gem ladies, and they're all a bunch of gems, and they fight off things.
They are truly outrageous.
Truly, truly.
Yeah. No, it sounds interesting. I think well, because like, what's the show kind of do? I know there's like evil monsters that try to eat them.
Yeah, okay.
Right? I don't know if that's a spoiler.
It's not the spoiler. It's the first episode, so it's not really a spoiler. It's like the first 5 minutes. It's so there's these things that come from the moon called lunarians, and they apparently they live on the moon. They come down whenever it's sunny. There's a chance of them just coming out of a sunspot, and they want to destroy the gems and use them for jewelry, as what you're told initially. I won't say anything else except for that, but they want to collect these gems for jewelry, and so they break them, and it's kind of graphic almost, because like they shatter these women, it looks like, so like you like break them to pieces and then like just like cart them out, and it looks kind of messed up because, you know, like they're very human looking.
They look like humans.
Yeah. They got like breaking faces and everything. That sounds interesting. I might have to check it out.
I think everybody should watch the first episode at least, just to see what it looks like in motion, because man, is it good looking. It looks real good. But
yeah,
I think watch it. I think everyone should watch the whole thing. If you have Amazon Prime, I think it's definitely worth a watch, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think especially if you can get past like the first few episodes. Like, the story is really interesting. It's very it's definitely very unique. I don't think I've ever watched or read anything that has a story quite like this one. And it's very much like, it's very character driven. Like, the main character is very interesting. And I don't know. I think everybody should watch it. I definitely think, especially if you like animation, if you're interested in any of that, like, give this a look, because this might inspire you.
Yeah, I know it got a bunch of nods at least. I don't think the awards are happened yet, but Anime Award.
I really hope it wins Best Animation, because if it doesn't, it's a crime. It's a crime against animation if it doesn't win something.
Well, yeah, there's also a Best CGI category, and I mean, like, from the sounds,
not a whole lot of competition on that one, I don't think.
Yeah, it's like it, or I think they're saying Kato is the best follow-up to, because of the Kato itself or something. I don't know. You watched a little bit of Kato.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of Kato. I mean, it's funny because like the first episode is 2D and then it switches to all 3D, which is weird. But
that's weird.
Yeah, but that doesn't look anywhere near as good at all.
Okay, so you definitely think then Land of the Illustrious.
Yeah, I think because like Kato, it looks okay. Like, the animation's fine, but this one, like, the characters are always moving in Land of the Illustrious. Like, they're very animated when they move and they talk. Like they render every single word they're saying. They're not just opening and closing their mouths at all. So like they're just and like while they're talking, they're bobbing their heads around or like looking around or like moving the way people would move. Like I think there was some kind of there must have been some sort of mocap used somewhere because like there's very very rarely any static movement. So unlike Kato, which is like they'll just be like they'll be in a tent or something just talking, or like they're in the cube and they're just talking. So like so I think that definitely sets it apart because like it's the fact that everyone's moving so much definitely like elevates it that much more.
Yeah, no, like I've seen clips of it and it looks cool. I didn't know like what the show kind of was.
Yeah, because just looking at it doesn't really tell you anything. But yeah, it's cool. Not super like it's a pretty small cast since you only really get to know the other gemstones and like their master sensei.
Cool.
But yeah, check it out.
Definitely on my list of anime I'm planning on watching.
Awesome.
Yeah, I feel like that list keeps getting longer.
Yeah, I know. People got to stop making good stuff.
Yeah.
Why can't we go back to 2 seasons ago when they just had like a bunch of shit?
Yeah, why can't we just go back then when things were bad?
Even this season is kind of weak sauce. I'm kind of using this season as catch up.
Yeah.
I mean,
is there anything good that I'm watching from this season, actually?
I mean, I really want to watch Violet Evergarden, and Darling in the Franxx is definitely something to watch. But besides that, there's not a whole lot I'm watching right now.
I think those are the only 2 that are on my list.
Pop Team Epic, I'm gonna probably watch.
I guess Overlord Season 2 as well.
Yeah, I gotta watch that too.
Yeah, it's good. But anyway, we got a little bit of time left, so do we want to talk games for a bit? We do have, again, as I mentioned, renowned streamer in the building.
Talk about you should talk about Shadow of the Colossus a little bit.
Well, first of all, it's super duper gorgeous.
I was watching your stream a little bit. Ooh, that is a pretty game.
They did a really good job of making that game look good, and I have it. You can't see it on the stream because the PS4 doesn't support doing HDR over the Twitch stream, but I do have HDR turned on, and I think that really does make a good difference.
Yeah.
And the amount of contrast you can get between like the blacks and the colored sections of the screen, and it really does help. But that game is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, the filtering options even look pretty like substantial. I was kind of surprised
about playing around with them, but I ended up deciding to just go with like.
Yeah, and this is your first time playing through the game, right?
So when the PS3 remaster, whatever you want to call it, came out, the Shadow of the Colossus collection, I played through a part of it. So right now I'm in the points where I still kind of know what I was doing because I beat the first, I want to say the first like 3 or 4 Colossi, however you want to call it. So I never beat the game, but I played through a small portion of it.
Yeah. Now that's kind of what I was like. I've always wanted to replay Shadow of the Colossus, but well, like I should say finish playing, because I think I did what you did. I got to the first one while I was playing at a friend's house or something, and past that I just was like, oh, cool. Wish I owned a PlayStation.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorites. Like that and Eco are some of my favorite tonally. Like I really love the tone in those games. Like the stories are okay. I think they're interesting, unique, but the actual tone in the game and like the set pieces are super unique. I was really surprised by how much they went into the backgrounds in this one though. Like holy crap. Like they did a real like I don't think I've ever seen a remake of a game that they did this much work on like all the details and stuff.
Yeah, I mean they really fleshed out all of those little background like details and everything.
Yeah.
All the models they use and whatnot.
Yeah, like the landscape is gorgeous in this game. Like you could take a screenshot of any piece of it and it would look like
make it a wallpaper.
Yeah, just wallpaper. Yeah. Literally every inch of this world could be a wallpaper. It is so good looking. I'm not even sure like why. Like Jesus, well, I don't know what studio remade this, but they need to get more work.
From what I know, this was actually I believe it was their first remake. Let me see.
Really?
The remake was made by, High Definition remake was made by Blue Point Games.
Okay, and I don't...
So they have done only a few games, and they're all basically like ports and stuff like that.
Okay.
They ported the God of War collection to the PS3. They were the ones that did the Ico and Shadow Colossus collection.
You're right.
They did Metal Gear Solid HD collection. PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale. So they got the big games.
The big game,
too.
the big guys. Everybody knows that game.
It looks like they did the port of Titanfall, the 360 port. They remastered a game called Flower. They did the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection. They did the Gravity Rush remaster, and then they did this. So they've pretty much only done...
And it's mostly HD It's not even like the remaster like this one is. It's just like they just like port HD versions of the games.
Pretty much.
But it sounds like they really outdid themselves this time on the remake.
Yeah, I mean this is a game that was from so long ago. I'm guessing we're probably talking like a whole new engine.
Oh yeah,
and obviously all of the assets are new. They made a new rig and a new model for the main character, and I'm assuming for all of the Colossus.
Yeah, I mean, I watched you fight the first Colossus, and yeah, it's like they didn't just take the old model. They redid the whole thing. Like it's the same game, but it's very much a different experience, like from the original.
But at the same time, I'd say that they did a good job of keeping the feel of the game in terms of like how it felt to play it. Mm-hmm. Very much the same, because I had recent when I did play it was only within like the last year or so that first played it for the PS3. And I will say that the feeling of playing the game is very much the same. It does feel like Shadow of the Colossus still.
Mm-hmm. They didn't just like make a completely different game. They made the same game, but they actually brought the same game to the modern era, which is like ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not like the new Sonic games where they don't feel like the same as the old kind of Sonic. They feel like garbage. But they actually did for Shadow of the Colossus do a very good job in porting over like the feel of the original game.
Yeah, no, that's good. So it doesn't feel like a cheap remaster. Like, hey, just you don't want to buy the same game again for full price.
It doesn't feel like a game where like they try to quote unquote modernize the controls and like make it too streamlined or something like that. Because like sometimes that happens when like companies try to like reboot series and stuff like that. They stayed very faithful to the feel of the original game in terms of like how your character was controlled and stuff like that. It does lead to some things like some of the clunkiness of the controls still exists because they kept it very much the same as how it was before.
Mm-hmm. I almost feel like people would get upset though if they did remove that clunkiness. Like,
I absolutely agree.
Wouldn't feel genuine. Yeah. It would feel like a different game.
Yeah, that sometimes you kind of need that flaw, not necessarily flaw, but like you needed that kind of imperfection in games when you're playing them for it to feel like authentic. Like if the controls are like too good.
Yeah, and there's always that line that it kind of gets hard to find where when you bring one of these games, like when you make basically a remaster of one of these games, there's always that fine line between like keeping it faithful to the original and kind of making sure that the game lives up to modern standards, because sometimes fans can be kind of like rose tinted goggles with some of these games, and developers will keep it too faithful, and it'll make basically anyone that isn't already a fan of the game not wanting to play it because it feels old. And
I think Yooka-Laylee, I think a lot of people had that issue with that game. It feels very much like Banjo-Kazooie, but Banjo-Kazooie was also like an old game, and so like
it was a almost 20-year-old game.
Looking at it with modern sensibilities, it doesn't really hold up as much.
Yeah, and unless you were a fan specifically of those really old games, I shouldn't say that because like even Banjo and Kazooie fans weren't slobbering over this game, but it feels very much like if somebody had released another N64 collectathon game.
Exactly.
That's what it would have been without all the hype and praise of Banjo and Kazooie behind it.
Yeah, I would have just kind of faded in as it would have been like the next Buck Bumble or something.
Bumble. Oh boy. Okay, I have a question though for you guys though. Speaking of remakes. Mm-hmm. So if this studio, this Blue Hole Studio, if they were to remake any game, what would you guys want? Like if you get this studio in particular, because they did such a good job.
Oof, that is a tough one.
Yeah, I'd have to think. Harvest Moon, Friends of Mineral Town.
Oh yeah.
No, not actually. There's already Stardew Valley. I'm just trying to think of like the game I played the most, and I think I said that's.
I think I have mine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's the Mega Man N64 game.
Oh yeah, the Mega Man.
Oh
N64.
yeah. You're on the island.
That would be really nice. Ooh, I would actually really like that. That'd be great.
I love
like going
that
into
game.
going into the ruins, like and like actual not pasted
and
on.
like make it actually like look super nice and stuff. And
yeah,
that is a game that could use some updates to like the way it controls and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it looks pretty good for an N64 game. I remember really liking the aesthetic of that game.
Yeah, and from what I hear, it was actually available like on PC or PS2 or something like that as well.
I think it was PS2, yeah.
I love that game as a kid, and the series kind of died off, and I would love to see a remake.
That would be fan. That'd be great, especially like this level remake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mega Man Legends. That's what it was.
Mm.
I think I've got mine. I don't know if it's like a cheating answer, but can I do 2, maybe a trilogy? But I don't think the third one's old enough to be remade yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would want to see the original 2 Mass Effects remade.
Ooh, like modern.
Yeah, kind of modernized. Mass Effect 3 too, if possible. Just basically, I would want somebody to make a Mass Effect game that isn't Andromeda again.
Mm-hmm.
But like the first Mass Effect, I tried to replay again recently, and oh boy, is it clunky.
Yeah, it's I replayed the original Mass Effect not too long ago too. Man, did not age super well. Even though I still enjoy the story, but it's not a.
Yeah, the story is good, but I think like it could stand to have the combat touched up a bit, and then, make the characters look better too, because boy does they have that weird BioWare face thing going on.
Oh, for sure. Which is funny, because I remember that game blowing me away when I saw trailers for it and stuff.
Yeah, right?
Like, back when they first started showing promotion material, I was like, what? Games can't look like this? This is impossible.
Yeah, literally impossible.
And then you go back and you see, like, these plastic people just, like, bumping into each other. It's just like...
Yeah, and then you compare it to things like Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn,
Yeah.
or like Uncharted, the new Uncharted. Like, yeah, you can't look at those two games.
Yeah, you can't have that. But then I would want them to also remake Mass Effect 2 in the same style.
Exactly.
At least.
I think, bring this slightly off topic, I think that's one of the interesting things that kind of happened when we did the jump from 3D games, from 2D to 3D. One of the big things that happened is like graphics not aging very well. And you see that on a lot of 3D games nowadays. And I think a lot of it is because kind of the artistic feel where you can identify and be like, hey, these are just hand-drawn sprites, you know? Because when you're in a 2D game, that's very obviously somebody made these 2D sprites. And then when you move over to 3D, I think that kind of that effect and feel is kind of lost, and it's one of the reasons that caused like some of these older 3D games that aren't necessarily in the uncanny valley to, not talking about Mass Effect specifically, to kind of not age very well when it comes to graphics, and it's why like games like Wind Waker have aged a lot better than games like Twilight Princess in terms of like,
I mean, I think when they tried to do like, especially when they try and give like they try to make it realistic, especially I think that's when they start like really hitting snags. Like I don't know if you've seen like any of the stuff from the original like Call of Duty 4, like. I remember thinking that game looked pretty decent back when it came out. Does not look good anymore. It's bad.
Seeing games like that, original Halo.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
like when you go back and you play original Halo and you see like the people's faces, you realize like, man, I thought this looked way better than it did, because you realize these faces literally have like 4 edges to them in terms of like their actual like polygons, and then it's just a texture, like a really low-res texture.
You go look at Sergeant Johnson's face and his beautiful like 5 polygon face.
With like an open and a mouth closed animation. Like there's nothing in between. It's like a flip book almost.
Yeah. Well, for the Halo, like for the Halo remaster, you can actually with a button you can switch.
Yeah,
from
you can
the original.
toggle between the two.
You can like look at what it used to look like, and it's just like oof. But yeah, like you're right. Like Wind Waker, even the non remake version, like if you just go back to the original, it still looks good. It still looks great. Like
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I think they picked that art style that's gonna last.
Like the cell
they didn't go for hyper realistic.
Yeah, because it looks like art.
Yeah.
Rather than like someone trying to make like a failed like version of hyper realistic, graphics.
Yeah.
Not trying to say that all these old games are failed per se, but obviously in comparison to nowadays, if you released a game that looked like that nowadays, people would no longer call it, hyper realistic. And so I guess in that sense, it's
they've kind of failed. Like, I mean, you couldn't release like a Heavy Rain in these days. Like, that game looks goofy as hell nowadays, but back when it came out, it was like cutting edge realism.
Yeah. That's just how things age, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. Like, I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Just like, especially for people who are making games, I think it's a good, interesting thing to like. What will my game look like in 10 years? Like, will people still? Well, it does. Is my style enduring enough for scrutiny 10 years on?
Yeah, and it's definitely something interesting, and I don't really know how much game developers really think about. Because obviously the most important thing is releasing your game here and now. Yeah. So I wonder how much like other game developers actually think about how their game will be perceived like a decade from now or 2 decades from now.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, they probably think about it at some point, but I wonder how much of an impact it has on their decisions in terms of how they go about creating the game. I'm gonna guess probably not much.
Yeah.
But
especially for a publisher.
Yeah, because you gotta make your game,
Yeah. Well, like indie developers now were like a couple of years ago, the 8-bit style really came back, and it's like, if you look at some of those, I wonder, like, and I know this is a shitty thing to say maybe a bit, but like, do you think they picked 8-bit design styles because some of them it's just easier to do?
Oh, absolutely. I have not a doubt in my mind with that, because that's exactly how I determined how I was going to make the art for my game was, I'm not an artist and I can't afford to hire an artist, so you have to kind of work within your means when it comes to like that kind of stuff. And I won't say pixel art is easy, because there's a lot to become a good pixel artist, but the skill set is something that is not so much like something that you have to practice over years and develop like the ability to control your hand and draw things exactly how you see them. I'm sure Trey, as an artist, you can relate, being able to translate your idea in your head onto, your medium is something that's one of the major skills of an artist, like, and it's one of the hardest skills to acquire.
Yeah, it's something you have to really practice, especially for someone like you who are making it from scratch. Like, you have a lot of things to think about. You don't have all the time. You probably don't have the time to just like sit down and like make some super detailed sprites or something. Yeah,
and that's one of the nice things about pixel art is that when you're only working with 16 pixels or 128 by 128 pixels, you have a limited amount of like fine details that you have to worry about, whereas like with traditional art, the very fine curvatures of the curves that you draw can have a huge impact on your final piece, and that's not really as big of an issue with pixel art. Along with the fact that you can churn out a smaller pixel art images faster than you can churn out some crazy 8,000 by 8,000 super high detailed picture.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just because of the amount of details in it. So
yeah, that's just some interesting stuff to think about. But I think
it's about time to wrap it up. Our beautiful dumpster goblins. And thanks again, Chris, for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. It was
fun. Hopefully we'll be able to have you again. It was really fun having you on.
Yeah.
In our Japanese tour, it feels like. But it was really fun having you on. I definitely want to have you on again.
Yeah, this is great.
Especially having like good in depth. But as always, I'm Trey.
And I'm Dan.
And I guess I'm Chris.
Yeah, alright, and we'll catch you guys later.
Y'all have a wonderful night.